It is not always necessary that farming can be done in the field, because today you will see some very high-tech indoor farming systems. Hi, good day to everyone, Richard Aguilar here and welcome back to my channel. Now, before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe and push the bell icon for you to receive new updates from my channel. Do you know that high-tech indoor farming is already gaining popularity in some or many countries around the world? So today, I'll just show you some countries that are already embracing the advantages and benefits of indoor farming. So, without further delay, let's start with Netherlands. Here is the biggest indoor farming in Netherlands. Watch this very vast array of indoor farming greenhouses. These indoor farming greenhouses were built in pursuit of sustainable agriculture. Take a look.
Just south of The Hague in the Westland region of the Netherlands, miles upon miles of greenhouses are spread across the landscape. They've been built by Dutch farmers as part of a 20-year movement by the country to pursue sustainable agriculture by growing indoors. Dutch farmer Hans Winkel grows tomatoes in 2 greenhouses that cover 20 acres of land. His annual harvest of 2.5 million pounds of tomatoes is more than double the average yield of an outdoor farm. Zwinkel and growers like him achieve high yields by controlling the climate and water for their crops under glass. Filtration systems allow them to collect and recycle the plant's water supply. Crops receive direct sunlight, supplemented as needed by artificial light, and are protected from unpredictable weather events and insects, which almost completely eliminates the use of chemical pesticides.
Another example of indoor farming happening in Netherlands is led by Wageningen University. They take much of the research about indoor farming. Take a look at who is behind this.
The Netherlands Wageningen University has led much of the research on how to best grow crops indoors. Leo Marcellus, a professor at the university, says that in the era of climate change, the Dutch agricultural revolution needs to move beyond greenhouses, which still rely on some outside forces like sunlight. Marcellus is now experimenting with indoor vertical farming.
Whether we are growing tomatoes, where it's about getting fruits, or whether it's a lettuce or a leafy vegetable. So you can imagine that you want a different type of plant, and that may require therefore a different light. With LEDs, we can also put them in between the plants. And that's very good, because usually there is maybe too much light on the top, but insufficient at the bottom. So we can have a much better distribution of the light in the plant.
As in many greenhouses, water for the plants is drained, collected, and reused, reducing their dependence on an outside water source. And instead of sunlight, the researchers use LEDs, light bulbs that can replicate solar light in a variety of colors and intensities.
Now, let's proceed to indoor farming happening in Japan. Fujitsu is a well-known tech company in Japan. But do you know that Fujitsu is also into indoor farming? Take a look at how indoor farming is done here in Fujitsu plant.
So this project is called Kirei Yasai. What does that mean?
Kirei means clean and Yasai means vegetable.
Right, the Clean Vegetable Project.
Clean Vegetable Project. We grow vegetables in a clean room that was used for semiconductor chips, and less particles and less bacteria.
And it's soil-free, is that right?
Yes, soil-free. We don't need soil.
Miyabe says a vegetable factory like this could be set up anywhere in the world, regardless of the climate.
In the future, this kind of plant factory will increase, not in Japan, but also all over the world.
To differentiate its lettuce from other farmers, Fujitsu has focused on growing a low-potassium variety, which is sold to people with kidney problems who can't process the mineral properly. The lettuce is sold to nursing homes and hospitals in the area, as well as online for patients to buy directly.
there is a pump and nutrient solution pumped up into the top tray like this and flows under the vegetables and the second and the third and return to the tank.
Here is another indoor farming company in Japan called Mirai Vegetable Company. Don't you know that this company is already selling their products internationally? Take a look at this.
Shohei Yoshimoto from the Mirai Vegetable Company. Mirai is the Japanese word for future.
From seeding to harvesting, it takes 35 days. In open field, usually from 72 days to 90 days. So around 2.5 times faster.
Input costs such as power and labour are high, but because the farm can operate 24 hours a day, output is maximised. This factory produces about 10,000 lettuces a day, and they're sold in supermarkets across Tokyo. The Mirai company is not just in the lettuce business. It's also selling the systems for factory farming, and so far they've had customers in Russia and Mongolia.
And now it's time for us to also see what the USA has to offer when it comes to indoor farming. And at this time, it's all about growing mushroom indoor. Here in Kennett Township, Pennsylvania, growing mushroom indoor is really possible. Take a look at how it's done.
An hour outside Philadelphia, this small community of 8,000 people harvests 500 million pounds of mushrooms every year, all of it indoors and at a low cost of about $1 per pound.
We invested 9 years ago into a Dutch-style farm.
Chris Alonso owns this indoor farm that uses vertical farming methods seen in the Netherlands. Using these techniques, Alonso's facility alone is responsible for more than 1% of the nation's mushroom crop, growing 11 million pounds of mushrooms a year, protected from potentially harsh outdoor conditions.
The only day we take off is Christmas. And the consumer wants fresh produce year-round, so we're able to meet the needs to have locally grown produce all year round, as opposed to some crops where they're only grown seasonally. So mushrooms has been sustainable for generations. However, land is affordable because Mother Nature provides rain, Mother Nature provides sun. Growing indoors is very capital intensive. You have the building, you have the infrastructure, you have energy costs. But if you can maximize productivity and having consistent quality year round, yes, it's economically viable.
Another indoor farming in the US is taking place at San Francisco, where the main focus is growing green leafy vegetables. As we can see here, vegetables are growing vertically. Watch this.
The place where we're stepping in now is to serve demand that is unmet.
Indoor farming pioneer Matt Bernard heads a major agriculture project in San Francisco called Plenty. Its farm is a retrofitted former warehouse, now with walls of fresh vegetables that stretch for 100,000 square feet. Currently, it grows leafy greens like spinach and kale, the easiest and most affordable crop to grow indoors.
Instead of using 15 gallons of water to produce one head of lettuce, we use less than 1/5 of a gallon to produce that same head of lettuce. So we're saving a significant amount of water, and we can actually influence the way the food tastes by making sure it has exactly the right nutrient recipe, the right light recipe, the right water recipe.
The plants grow directly out of vertical columns. Similar to Dutch researchers, the company also uses LED lights, water recycling, and climate control. No genetically modified seeds or pesticides are used in production. Instead, it's the environment that's modified, carefully crafted around each type of plant to give them the ideal conditions for growing.
And lastly, another example of indoor farming happening in the US is taking place at Toronto. At this time, it's all about growing green leafy vegetables, but what's unique about this is the use of multicolored LED lights that look like disco lights. Take a look at this.
Is this the future of farming, or is that being a little dramatic?
I think it's a big part of it. It's not going to be the whole future of agriculture. I think there's a role to play for leafy greens and herbs.
It may look like a disco, but this unit in a business complex, that's right, a unit in a business complex in the north end of Toronto, is actually Living Earth Farm. Mixed in with the soil is the blood, sweat, and tears of 26-year-old Jonah Krok-Melnyk. Numerous restaurants are buying his greens through his dealer, and he's actually expecting to pay himself this year. But he says feel free to call him crazy still.
The ones that are crazy enough to change the world are the ones that do. And it's a Steve Jobs quote, and it really is meaningful to me, because I think this is the future, and you kind of do have to be a little crazy to do something like this.
Krok-Melnyk uses soil and irrigation system he created and multicolored LED lights that are far out, literally.
Maybe not designed, but tested by NASA in space to see how crops can grow there. And I let NASA do all the testing and just followed their research.
The seed boxes grow on 7 levels, keeping his footprint compared to a greenhouse minuscule. You're a farmer, aren't you?
Yeah, I work 7 days a week, which is tough, but I love it, so it makes it worth it.
Krok-Melnyk has literally created the system from scratch. It is not hydroponic because that isn't organic.
This machine does the seeding for me.
So, what do you think of this indoor farming happening now? Are you encouraged to do the same? Or if you have anything to say about this video, just leave your comment below. And that's all for now. Once again, this is Richard Aguilar. Thanks for watching and see you next time.